Great. Hi,
I want to
everyone.
welcome everyone. I want to introduce you to Robert. Thanks again for joining our Google Workshop series. Robert Martinez from Braving, our digital coach from Google, also founder of Braving and newly appointed to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much, Robert, for joining us. If you want to get started on one of your amazing workshops, we're ready.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Diana. I appreciate everyone joining. If you could allow me to present the screen, that would be fantastic. So that I could start presenting. Yeah, if you go hover around my name and then drop down, and then you could give me access.
Make co-host. Yes.
Hola. Okay.
Got that?
Perfect. Okay, everyone can see my screen? Yes? Okay. Sounds good. Today we're going to talk about a really fun session around design thinking and design thinking for entrepreneurs. So how do we use this methodology to really think through how to connect with your business, how to connect with your clients, how to make sure you grow your company? This is a very famous thought methodology that moves the burden of understanding your clients from a numerical, like quantitative manner, which is how much does he make, how old is he, to a more humanistic, more empathy focused manner, which is what do they feel, what do they think, why would they say yes to me, where are they at in their journey as a customer for me, how do I help them? And that's what design thinking is all about, is creating a methodology of thinking about your customer. And the way I always think about it is putting yourself in your customer's shoes. That's really what design thinking is for. That's really what design thinking was created for. And very excited to talk about this, one of my favorite sessions. So Rocio, thank you so much for joining us. I love everyone that's joining us. Thank you so much, folks. Okay, let's get started. My name is Roberto Martinez. Thank you so much, Diana, for introducing me. I am a Google State coach. I'm also founder of Braving Agency. If you have any questions after this session, feel free to reach out to me via robertomar@google.com. I'm here for you, here to help you grow, here to help you scale. Okay, so we have a video. I don't think we're gonna play just because it's a little bit clunky and my internet connection is not the best. I am traveling right now, so I wanna skip that, but I'll give this to you as homework. It's the founder of IDEO, which is the company that created design thinking. It used to be housed in Stanford. Stanford had a school of design. This individual said, you know what? Everyone talks about numbers. Everyone talks about how do you grow your company? You have to understand your numbers. What about understanding your customer, really getting inside the feet of your customers and putting yourselves in their journey as they go through their day-to-day experience to make their life easier? And that's what we want to do today. We want to talk about how you as an entrepreneur, or maybe even as someone who's starting their company and getting started and growing your company, how do I get more customers? Or maybe you're just starting off and thinking about where do I get into? What is the marketplace I get into to grow my market, to grow my business? Or maybe you're thinking about how do I come up with an idea to start a business? So all that is a great way to start. Stanford created this methodology. The owner of the design school left and created his own design company called IDEO. They're very, very famous. They're the ones who created the mouse. I don't know if you remember that little device that we all use for our laptops or desktops to move around and have the squirrel follow around like you see here. They're the ones that came up with that concept. And the way they came up with that concept of creating a mouse, quote unquote, is because they looked back into human evolution and they started seeing how human beings use tools. And they landed on a flint rock and they realized that the people, 300,000 years ago, will pick up this rock and they'll use it as an axe. And it felt comfortable. And they're like, why don't we create something very similar to that flint rock? Because we've been using our hands to pick up these tools for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. And so that's how they came up with the mouse. And it all came from the human experience. What is our fundamental experience as human beings? And how do we help each other out? By creating different technologies, different companies. So we're going to talk about that. You guys could follow along with me by logging into your Gmail account and using some of these tools that we have for you. Okay, So if you want, you could sign into your Google Gmail account, go to the Drive and open up a document and use that document to take notes. Okay, so let's actually define design thinking as we see it in Google, and it's a way to problem solve that focuses on the user, on the person who's using your technology, who's using your company's services, who's using your company products, and it enables technological tools and economic feasibility. So how do we create this in the most inexpensive manner to get it in front of our customer base? We don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to start a company. We just have to have an idea, leverage technology to get that idea in front of our prospective customers. Okay, there's 5 stages in design thinking. The first stage, and probably in my opinion, one of the most vital stages, is empathize, where we just sit there and look at our customer, understand what they're going through, understand how they think. I just did this with one of my friends here, Rocio. I asked her, hey, Rocio, can you sit in on a presentation? I just want you to tell me what you think about this presentation, how you think they're thinking about this presentation I'm presenting to them, because I want to get inside their shoes. And guess what? She starts telling us questions like, hey, how you thought about X? How you thought about Y? Well, I have a lot of questions about this particular slide in your presentation. And the following day when we presented, the people in that meeting were asking the same question that Rocio brought up, almost identical questions. And that's because Rocio was able to put herself in the customer's shoes, in my perspective customer's shoes, and tell me how people were thinking. And so when I got to that presentation, I already knew the questions they were going to ask. So guess what? I was prepared. I was ready to go and prepared to give them the answers because Rocio has helped me understand what they were thinking. That's the power. If you don't walk away from anything else, just putting yourself in the customer's shoes and empathizing with your customer to understand what they're going through. If you're just starting off and you have a company, really powerful tool right there. Hey, how do I create a solution? Walk through that experience. The second is define, express the problem in the point of view of your prospective customer. Really understand what the problem they're going to. The third phase is start creating different ideas. Ideation just means ideas, creating multiple ideas that identify the problem and finds a solution to that problem. And then we start design thinking, which is my funnest part of the whole process, is you start finding different ways to create solutions to the problem. And we'll give you concrete examples of what that looks like. We create the solution to the problem, and what do? We get it in front of people. We say, here, break my toy. I just creating a new toy. Tell me how you play with that toy. Tell me how you use that toy. Tell me how I could improve on this particular toy or solution. And what do you do from that? You improve the toy. You improve the solution. So when Rocio told me, hey, you need to improve this slide, or you need to add these pieces to this slide, we went back to the presentation and we improved it. We iterated on the design of the presentation, because now we're thinking the way the people who are judging us in this meeting are going to be thinking. Same thing with your business, same thing as you're starting out as an entrepreneur. Okay, let's go through this different phases, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the different types of technologies that you have right now that came from design thinking. That is to say, people put themselves in the customer's shoes and said, how do we make life easier? The first one that I like is on-demand television. We take it for granted now, but 20 years ago, we did not have that. We weren't able to watch the shows we cared about. It was only what was on TV, and only, maybe 100 channels before, during cable. You go back 50 years, it was only maybe 20 channels. And someone said, you know what? I want to be able to pick and choose what I watch when I want to watch. I don't want to be beholden to the schedule of the TV. How do we use technology to create that? And that's where on-demand TV came from. The other cool example is, I don't know, some of us have really cool, fun cars, new cars, and we might have SUVs, we might be mommies and daddies, or we might just love grocery shopping. And as we're carrying these bags, we have to get into the car. So how do we do it? Well, someone thought about this. I'm like, you know what would be really cool if the car had a sensor in the bottom, underneath the HUD or underneath the door, and all we have to do is move our foot underneath the door and they'll activate the trunk and they'll open it. Again, putting yourself through the customer experience and identifying what is the problem that they're having. The third piece that's great is the rideshare company. We all know Ubers and Lyfts of the world. We all know Airbnbs of the world. I'm actually in an Airbnb right now. And so they thought about, well, you know what if you could go anywhere and that would be your home? What if you have a place that makes you feel like you are at home? Well, let's create that experience. What if I could use my phone and click on a button and automatically get directed to a taxi? But it's not going to be a taxi. It's going to be a person driving their own vehicle, showing me and taking me to my destination. All these different technologies and different companies that are now multi-billion-dollar companies came from design thinking. Okay, so any questions before I keep moving on? No? Awesome, Blossom. Okay, so let's talk about empathizing, how we can empathize and different tools that we can use or thought experiments that we can use when it comes to identifying the feelings of our customers. And the first thing we want to do is to connect to our user story through emotions and identify who that user is. So I want you to think through, who is your ideal customer? This is called the customer persona. Give them a name and really think through what their experience is day to day. That's going to help us better understand how we can help the customer walk through their day-to-day experience. There's actually something called empathy mapping. And empathy mapping is exactly what it sounds like. You map the experience of your customer as they're going through their day. And you say, on Monday, what's the first thing they do? What's the second thing they do? I'll give you a concrete example that we as a company use for my agency. We know certain people wake up at a certain amount of time. So if we want them to see our emails, we're like, okay, what time does marketing directors wake up? They probably wake up around 5:36, or perfect. Let's shoot out emails at 5:36 to our marketing directors in the morning, because we want the first thing that they see on their phone to be our email. And so that's going to help us better understand who our users are. And so we want to start thinking about, who is our user? Are they predominantly women of color? Are they predominantly men? Because those are two different distinct genders, and we want to think about their experiences. What about if they're parents? Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? What nuance, what variation do we have to start thinking about if they do have kids? Well, they're probably busy with school. They have to make dinner. They have to make lunch. They have to make sure their kids are ready to go in the morning. All those scenarios are different problems that they are confronting day to day. So you can start thinking about, how do I solve that problem? What about if they're older and they're seniors, or they're college students? All of these individuals have different customer journeys, different experiences they experience as they're going through life. And for us, if we put ourselves in their shoes and we think about ourselves in their experience, we start realizing what they're going through and how they, as a client, potential client of ours, can say yes to our product. Okay. So we want you to take an activity right now with us, and I want you to select an audience, whoever it is that you think is perfect for your company, or let's say you want to start a new company. You could choose whatever the audience is for you. So select that audience, a busy professional. We're all working professionals and we all have a side hustle. So what does that mean? That means we can put ourselves in the shoes of company owners that have a side hustle. That means we work from 9 to 5, but from 6 to 10 or 6 to 8, we're doing our side hustle. Or maybe an after school teacher, whatever it is. And I want you to think about that particular person or that grouping of people and list out 10 things they face every day. So 10 challenges, 10 what we call breaks in their experience. So if I was to think of a student, I think they're very busy, they lack sleep, right? So they're busy, so they're always on the run, they're always having to study. They don't sleep very well because they have a ton of work and they might go out on the weekdays and stay up very late. They might have a ton of homework. They're always budgeting, right? So there's already 4 challenges right there. And so we could start thinking about solutions to those challenges. Like, how do we help them with these problems? If they're always busy, maybe we create a productivity tool or a scheduling tool that allows them to schedule their classes a lot easier, to make their life a lot easier. All right, So hopefully we all have those examples, and we're going to use those examples, and we're going to start defining the problem. What is the problem that they actually have, and how do we solve for that problem? And in this scenario, we create what's called the problem statement. We put, like, it's like putting a fence around what we're going to solve for. It's like, we're going to solve for what exactly? Because I already mentioned 3 or 4 different problems that the student has. We could mention a lot more. When you're thinking about your clients, you could think about all the multiple problems that they have. For example, our company launched a software company, and we thought, you know what the problem a lot of businesses have? They can't keep track of all the information. They can't, it's just too much information to keep track of. They have financing, they have accounting, they have marketing, they have sales, they have human relations. What if we bring that in one place for them? And it's super easy for them to use, super easy for them to connect. So what we do there is that we created a problem statement. How do we simplify the life of an entrepreneur to manage their business? That's the problem statement. How do we simplify the life of an entrepreneur to help them tackle the problems? Perfect problem statement. And now we can start identifying how we can help them out. So here's an example that we're going to use. We're going to use Sam, and he's a busy manager who needs a way to eat healthy because he doesn't want to feel like he's on a diet. So we identified the customer. We identified what he has a challenge with, a characteristic of his. He's very busy. Then we identified ways that what he's trying to accomplish, what he's trying to solve for. How many of us say, you know what, I'm too busy to eat healthy. I have to eat fast food. I don't have time. Or how many of us are rushing from meeting to meeting, going home, and we just don't have time to eat healthy? So what do? We go to a fast food restaurant and pick up something quick. Literally what I just did not 10 minutes ago. I haven't eaten the whole day. I'm busy. I'm traveling. I just left from the conference, came running back. I don't have time to eat healthy and find some healthy alternatives. So I went to a place and I ordered a burrito, right? So that's not very healthy. That's a problem that I have because I'm busy, but I want to be healthy. I want to live a healthy lifestyle. So what's a solution that we can have for people like me? Maybe one of the solutions was meal prepping. Maybe one of the solutions of instant delivery of healthy meals, regardless of where you're at. What if you're traveling around the world or around the city, and the solution is, regardless of where you're at as a busy professional, we'll deliver healthy food options to you wherever you're at. That's a great company if you want to do a healthy delivery company, right? Because we identify what the problem was, we identify what the need of the customer is, and now we identified what they're trying to accomplish. They want to feel healthy and they don't want to feel like they're in a problem. So defining that problem through the lens of your customer. And we want to make it as realistic as possible. So we're going to use a name. We're going to give them characteristics. We're going to say, you know, middle-aged, young, older, you know, ages 25 to 35, 35 to 45, and make it as real as possible. Almost make it like you could identify it. Many of the times when we run this workshop, I tell people, think about your friends that are going through this problem. Make it as real as possible so you could talk to your friend and ask your friend, hey, Stacy, or hey, Erica, what do you think about if I created this solution for you? What would you think about if I had healthy, meal-ready lunches for you, regardless of where you're at in the city? Let's say you're working in a remote location, we'll deliver it to you. Would that be something that you would use? Yes or no? Right? So again, thinking through those problems. And that's the defining place. We start defining what the problem that we're trying to tackle. So the first phase is we think about the issues that they face and we put ourselves in their shoes. We define the problem. And now is the fun part where we start thinking of how we can solve that problem that they're facing, how we can help them understand how to solve that problem. And here's the best part. There are no wrong answers. You get to think as wild and as crazy as you want. This is the part where there's different ways of doing it. There could be sticky notes. We usually run this in a group setting. So it's a group of 5 people. And there's always someone's like, that's not how you do it. Like, no, there's no such thing as that's not how you do it. You could do it whatever way you want. You get ideas, put them on the wall, just throw them on the wall and see what sticks. And so we have something called the Crazy 8. And we recommend you get a piece of paper, you fold it into 8 pieces like you used to back when you're in elementary school or middle school, and you talk about different ways to solve the solution. Here's one way of solving that problem. I said meal prep delivery, right? You drop it. Here's another way to solve the problem. Maybe create a chain of healthy like restaurants that you can just go and take from a little cubicle. What's another way of doing it? Maybe what you'll do is that you'll create an app that allows the customer to identify best options at the location they're at. So they're in a new part of town, and now all of a sudden this app tells them, here's the best healthy fast food alternatives in your 5-mile radius. There you go. I just created 3 distinct solutions to that problem. So this is what you do. You just create as many solutions as problems, no wrong answers. We call it blue sky thinking, which is think as wild and there's nothing holding you back as you're starting to solve for this problem. So here's a couple examples of different companies and how they attached and approached the solution. So there's different women of color, and they want a brand that's socially conscious to their specific needs. And they want to make sure that when they buy it, that some of the money, some of the proceeds goes to one of their missions, or goes to some of their campaign, or goes to something that they care about. And so super important. And so what if we create that for Goddess Mercado, for example? What if every $5 that you donate goes to one of our nonprofits of record? Maybe more people will be more willing to buy it because we buy into that. We're like, yeah, that's exactly who we are. We're givers. We just don't want to sign a check. We want our whatever we buy to go to a fund. I know Goddess Mercado is a nonprofit. Maybe it goes to the nonprofit arms to make sure we can hire more staff, grow the company, grow the nonprofit, and keep helping our Latinas grow and scale. Another one is, like I said, an app that helps you find local fresh produce. Kind of not the meal prep, but maybe it's food, like maybe it's veggies, maybe it's locally farmed. Someone already thought about this, so look at that, it's already been built. For college students, if we have the college student example, I don't know if y'all remember going to college or not, but one of the biggest worries for me was, who am I dorming with? Who am I rooming with? I want to make sure I room with someone I like. And beforehand, the university would place us together. And, you know, it was okay. I didn't really like my roommates the first year, I'll be honest with you. They joined us together based on major, which is not bad, right? We all had the similar major, so we could all talk about the politics and the marketing. But, you know, sometimes I don't want to talk about work or talk about school. Sometimes I want to talk about sports. Sometimes I want to talk about family, culture. And so a company of kids thought about this and it's like, how do you create a dating app applications, but for college students, right? We'll swipe left and right for the type of roommate that I want. And then we could talk to them and connect, which is really cool. It's something that people don't think about, but that's a solution to a problem that people are having. Or what about if I go and as a young professional, I have to move to a new city, but I don't know how long I'm going to be there. If I'm going to be there for 6 months, a year, maybe it's a year and a half, and then I might move back to my home state, my hometown. What if you can find and furnish temporary rentals? That's a great business, because you as a college student are only going to be in that university for 4 years. So are you going to buy brand new couches, brand new everything? No, you rather lend, lease, or rent. So perfect examples here of different ways we can solve for the problem. So we're not going to go through this exercise, but I want you to sit back and start thinking about all the possible solutions to problems that either your company has right now, or if you're starting off and you want to create a new company, possible solutions to what the new company might have, that problem statement. Let me pause there and see if anyone has any questions about this model, or any is thinking through, I don't understand this concept, or I don't understand, I have a question. So I'm just here for you guys. If you guys have any questions, let me know. No questions? Okie dokie. I'll keep going. All right. So we got the 8 type of solutions, and hopefully you're sitting with a group of people, and you guys have 5 people, 5 times 8, right? So now we have 40 different ideas ready to go, and we could start voting on it, like, oh, we think this idea is the best, or we think that idea is the best. Sometimes we have sticky notes when we do the crazy 8, and instead of having 8 ideas, we just get stickies and we put them up in the wall. And we don't write who it's from, we just put them up in the wall. And then we all individually go and then grab the stickies and we start segmenting the ones that we think is the best. Like, what do you guys think about this idea? And we move them to like, this is category 1, category 2, category 3. Best to least best ideas. And now we have a clear roadmap of different ideas that we can solve for that problem. And you see how you just went from solving a problem with one idea to having 40 different ways to solving one problem. That's the power of design thinking. You're thinking multiple ways of solving the problem, and you're thinking of multiple ways that you guys collectively can solve that problem. And then you're saying, which one is the best one? Of all the different ones that we came up with, we can all vote on it. We can all say, hey, this particular idea is the best out of the 40. Let's move forward with that. So now it's not just guessing game, and now you're using the collective knowledge base of a group to come up with the best idea. Okay, so we have the best idea in hand. What do we do now? We move forward and we start creating a solution. And this is really cool, guys. Like, this is probably the funnest part as well. This whole process is really fun because you kind of get to experience bringing an idea to life. I don't know how excited you guys are to be entrepreneurs, but I always thought this piece is like making magic. It's almost like you're an alchemist and you're creating something from nothing. Like it was just an idea 5 minutes ago, and now we're actually bringing it to life, breathing life into this idea. And so what do we want to do here? It's really important to think through what the minimum viable product is. And so what do we mean by minimum viable product? That means what's the least amount of work that we can do to test the idea out and bring it to the marketplace. Now, there's something else that it doesn't just have to be a product. It doesn't just have to be a phone. It could be a service. Minimum viable service. What is the minimum viable service that we can test out in the marketplace to help us understand if that idea is the best idea? What I did 2 years ago is that we created an MVP for a program. COVID happened and the city came to us and said, hey, how do we create a solution for these businesses who are suffering, for these businesses who cannot sell online? So our team got together, a lot of smart people that I am lucky to be friends with. We all sat down in a room, and we went through Zoom. It was a virtual room, and we all came up with virtual ideas of how do we solve the problem. And we're like, okay, what do they need? They need business listings, and what else do they need? Well, we need to make sure we know where they're at. So what about an audit? Okay, let's do an audit. And well, obviously a website. So we all came together and wrote down all the different solutions that a business needs to be able to sell online. And that became a minimum viable program. And we just did it exactly like this model told us to, right? We used the model to come up with these different ideas, and then we brought it together, and then I presented it to the city of LA and said, here, city of LA, here's a minimum viable program to help you solve the problem of businesses shutting down, businesses closing down because of COVID. Here's how we keep them open. And we're off to the races. We created that program in that methodology. So that's what I want you to think about. Okay, so really important piece here, minimum viable product and or service or program is not an iteration in that same product. In other words, it's not how do we move, like how do we mobility, we're solving for mobility, right? We're solving for person to get from point A to point B. That does not mean we go from using a unicycle to using a cart and then building that cart into a full-fledged car. There's no real variation in that. It's not solving the problem. It's the same concept, just more and more features and more detail in that. What we want to do is think about different ways to solve for the problem. So we want to move from point A to point B. What's one way we could do that? Oh, easy, a skateboard. What's another way we can do that? Oh, easy, a scooter, right? What's another way we can do that? Oh, a bike. What's another way we could do that? A motorcycle. What's another? A car. And so as you're seeing, you're still moving forward, but it's different means of moving forward, different ways of moving forward from point A to point B. And so Uber and Lyft, what they said, we want to own mobility. So anything that has to do with moving, we want to be a part of. So what did they do? They launched the rideshare companies and its mobility, get from point A to point B. But what happened? We got scooters. And were they going to sit around and say, okay, that's enough? We own the cars. We don't care about the scooters. No, because what they're solving for is mobility. They're solving for how do you move from point A to point B. So it just made sense for them to integrate scooters onto their app. So now you can have the app and you can connect to the scooter because they're solving for what? Mobility. How do you move from point A to point B? Does that make sense? Let me stop there. Temperature check. Seems like everyone's good. Okie dokie. Okay.
Good.
All good. Sounds good, Brenda. I like the thumbs up. Okay. So then we pick one of that prototype and we start fleshing it out and break it into pieces and think about what kind of technology do we need for that? What is the time? In other words, you think about what's called your constraints. What are things that constrain our thinking to solve the problem? So, okay, well, obviously we need money, that's for sure. We might need talented people, we might need engineers, we might need app developers. And so you just write down all the different tools that you need and all the different services you need to bring your idea to life, which is the ideation to prototype phase. And so once we have that built out, we start thinking about how to get it to market. Let me give you the example of the most viable program solution. We thought, okay, well, we have that, but what do we need? We need technology companies that do business listings. We need technology companies that do websites. We need technology companies that do web design. And so what did we do? We reached out to those technology companies and said, hey, you can help us by bringing in your expertise. And that's going to shrink our time requirements. You can help us by giving us money and we'll promote you. That would lower our need for money and resources. So that's the value here. You're taking every problem and you turn it into a solution. You turn it on its head and saying, hey, I get your problem. Here's how we're going to make that problem into a solution. Here's how we're going to take that negative and turn it into a positive. Then we take that and what do? We get it in front of our users. The most important piece, and this is the iterate, right? So then we get the product and we get it to the client. We get it to the people to use it. And they start using the product and they start telling you feedback. They start telling you, oh, we love this, we hate this. Oh, this takes forever. I don't want to fill out the survey. I do want to, and so you just start learning. And that's, you learn. And what do? You add that new feature. You add that new specific to your solution for the company. And this is the best part because what you start doing really is you listen to your client, you listen to your customer, you learn from your customer, and then you improve the product. And you learn, and then you improve, and then you learn, and then you improve. And that makes it so that it's really hard for you to be replicated because other people are catching up to you and you're improving on that design element. And so every company that we know, Airbnb did the same thing, Lyft did the same thing, Uber did the same thing, every company. You remember when we first started getting applications or phones, our phone was a flip phone and then it iterated and people were like, you know what if we had a screen? And then they're like, okay, well, how do we use the screen? We use the screen with our fingers or with our thumbs. And so you start iterating on the process and it goes from a flip phone to a Nokia to a actual iPhone. And now everyone's an iPhone and we're still innovating, iterating time and again to make the product better and better and better. The only way we can do this is by getting feedback from our customers. There's a very amazing story of how Google had a idea for a Google Lens. It was those glasses that you can see a company, you could see a block and it'll tell you information. So you might be walking down the street and you might see that building and they'll tell you what the address is. They'll tell you all kinds of information. It was called Google Lens. Well, that didn't work out. But what happened? They used that technology for their phones. And now you can use Google Lens and just point to a certain neighborhood and it'll tell you information about that neighborhood. It'll tell you information about where you can deliver to. It even gives you information if you take a picture of a person and they have a shirt that you like, it'll tell you here's where the shirt is found or similar shirts online where you can buy. An example of this is Sunrise Coffee, where they thought through the process. So the world shut down. They they had to pivot, right? They're like, okay, so how do we make sure that we don't close down during COVID? Well, online orders, everything went to online. We do online orders. We start leveraging the heck out of social media, online sales. And then because everyone's sick, who do we want to support? We want to support the nurses, the frontline staff. And so for each 10 cups, we'll give a cup away to a healthcare worker. And this galvanized their community because they're like, hey, not only am I drinking coffee and ordering it remotely and picking it up remotely, but I'm also helping those nurses and those doctors who are helping us fight COVID. So very innovative way of thinking, and they pivoted to make sure they stayed open. Okay, any questions there? No questions? Fantastic. Let me go through the steps again, step by step by step, just so that we can give you a nice refresher. The first phase is obviously you got to feel it. You got to understand what the customer is going through, understand what they're experiencing, immerse yourself in their experience. It's the only way we can better understand our clients is by putting ourselves in our clients' shoes. Then we identify the problems that they're having. They have a lot of problems. We pick and choose one problem that we're trying to solve for. Then we start identifying how to solve that problem. Remember the crazy 8, blue sky thinking? A lot of different ways to solve that problem, a lot of different ways to solve the problem. We identify one solution that we like the most to help them solve that problem. And we start prototyping how to bring it to market. We start saying, okay, how do we bring this problem and solve it and get it in front of customers as fast as possible? Because why? Because we want the customer to test it out. We want the customer to play with the product and break it, literally break it, so we can see where is our weak link. Kind of what we did with Rocio a couple of days ago with the presentation. We literally told her, here's a red pen, break the presentation. We want you to go through it and mark it up and tell us every single place that we're wrong or we need to answer or we need to improve on. And I'm telling you, it was amazing. They had a question and we're like, we have an answer for that on this particular slide. We have an answer for that in that particular slide. I love that you asked that question. We have an answer for that in that other slide. Why were we able to do that? I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. And my team, the team is very smart, but we don't know everything. And the only way we can understand what the other people might be thinking is to bring other people within our network in to test it out. So what I recommend you all do with the problems that you're solving is bring your friends and family, get some pizza. I call it the pizza party test. And I invite multiple friends and I bring them on and I pay for the pizza and the soda. And I'm like, great guys, free food. But I brought you because I want to get your thoughts on something. Just give me your feedback on this particular problem. And then they start poking holes. Like, did you think about this? Did you think about that? And remember, ego is not your amigo. Like, you have zero ego here. You want them to break it. Don't be defensive. Let go and be like, yes, okay, I never thought about it that way. Oh, I never thought about it that way either. That's what you want. You want to keep them thinking and figure out where all the holes are at. Really important. Carla asks, how do you know who your customer is? Survey on your page or ask them within. Great. Carla, your client is your customer is the customer who's currently buying from you. Your customer is a prospective customer that you think is your customer. And that's the perfect question you should be asking. You should be asking your current customer base, like, hey, talk to me. Like, why did you buy us? Why did you say yes? If you have people that thought about buying you and didn't buy from you, perfect. That's news too. Bring them along. Hey, why didn't you buy from me? What didn't you like? You need to understand why they say yes, and you need to understand why they said no. Why they said yes, do more of that. Why they said no, don't stop doing that. But every piece of information is going to help you be better. And there's different ways to capture that information. Exit surveys, there's testimonials to get to the why. Like, we always want to go back and get to the why. Why? What happened? What time of day was it when you bought from me? That's super important. People are like, why does it matter? It's like, well, it matters because when you're marketing and you're doing the social media posts, are you doing it in the morning? Are you doing it in the afternoon? Are you doing it in the evening? Right? Or if you're sending out an email newsletter, what time of day are you doing it? You want to capture that problem. So I'll give you an example. I'm thinking food right now because I just finished eating. But there was a pizza shop, and they were seeing people were buying their pizza on Wednesday and Thursdays between the hours of 5 to 7. And they were ordering more than 2 pizzas. And they thought about it, like, why is this happening? Like, why is it during this time? And they started asking their customers and trying to understand what was going on and why they were buying during this time. And one of their customers says, I'm driving home from work. It's like, oh yeah, you get out of work at 5 and you're driving home. It's like, yeah, and by the end of the week, I don't want to cook anymore. Oh wow. And then the other thing they realized is like, I have kids. And usually I don't mind, I'll go make something up, but the kids are very finicky. And so what do? They learn from their customer. Monday and Tuesday, most of the time the parents are on top of it. Wednesday, they're tired already, they don't want to think about it, so they're more likely to order. So what did this pizza shop do? They created discounts for Wednesdays and Thursdays for family meals. Family deal on Wednesdays and Thursdays, right? Great. Or another thing they could have done is advertise during those hours, run ads during those hours, shoot out emails during those hours, right? Between 4:45, perfect time to shoot out an email. Forgot about dinner, we have you covered. Could you imagine that campaign? So getting that feedback allows you to think about their problem and then solve for their problem. Great question, Carla. All right, any other questions before I move on? Okay, so just want to go over it once more. Resources, we have a bunch of resources for you. Oh, I love this, long. No, Brenda, I love it. Long question, sorry. How would you test a concept, for example, creating a business where proceeds go to a cause that you want to provide services? Or for example, the website where products will be listed will also be a platform to provide resources that assist with different topics that may have difficult talking about, but this site will create a platform with such topics and solve to provide success. Why would test? So great question, Brenda. You have a lot of ideas here. So what I would do is I would really parcel your ideas out, right? Because you're solving for multiple things right now. One thing that you're solving for is selling the product itself. That's one thing. Then you're solving for the nonprofit piece. That's another thing. Then the issue or topic that people have a hard time solving for, that's a third thing. So that's 3 different business models that you have tied into one. So the first thing we have to do is break those into pieces so we could approach each one of them and give them the attention that it deserves. So we need to break it down to pieces. The first one is the products. What are the products all about? Do we all opt in? Are we all trying to do social good? Are we all driving towards the same direction, right? The second piece is obviously being able to support through the cause. The third piece is being able to have these talking points of topics that are really important to that particular community. And so you have to think about them in individual pieces and how, I hate using this analogy, but it's almost like a Venn diagram, VENN. You start circling and you start listing all those things that are separate from each other, and then you start realizing what brings them together. And if you really want to create that, you really have to identify what brings them together more than what separates them, because we all know what separates things. Why would we willingly go into a place that brings us together? And the stronger that togetherness is, the stronger the middle piece is of that Venn diagram, the more your concept is viable. And so bringing everyone together, bringing everyone to test out those ideas is really important before you even get to the pizza parlor place. Because what I would tell you is, do people care? You might care, and the issue might be important, but who cares about what we care about? Because at the end of the day, you're solving a problem. That's entrepreneurship and business owners, and our system right now as a capitalist system, we incentivize people that can solve problems. If you can solve a problem better than anyone else, you will become a multimillionaire, billionaire overnight. That's just the long and the short of it. So what is the problem that you're solving for? Right? That's really what you need to really get into. And right now you have 3 things that you're solving for. So what is that one thing that you're really solving for? That's gonna help you think through, okay, well, do people care about this one thing that I want people to solve for? And I can't answer that question in this context, but we can definitely talk about it over coffee some other time or through a Zoom. I hope that answered your question. And if it didn't, I apologize. You have an email. Shoot me an email. We have free app that allows you to learn as you go. We also have a bunch of tools online. You can learn at your own speed, YouTube, at Grow with Google. We have online courses there where you can take and learn at your own speed. And with that, I'd love to thank you all for joining us today. Absolutely adore you guys all being here and spending your Thursday afternoon. We have 15 minutes. Any questions and answers before I turn back the time to Diana, and thank you all for joining me. Any other questions? No? Okay.
I just want to say, wow, everything I heard just now made me feel as a new and budding entrepreneur and you founded a nonprofit is that, you know, I have to learn to solve problems, move forward, not be afraid to make mistakes. And if I make mistakes, it's a learning process for me. Now I have to learn how to apply it to my business. So thank you so much, Roberto. And also I'm going to take you up on that offer for the coffee. Okay.
Let's do it.
I want to dig into that. So thank you so much. Also, thank you very much to Rocio Flores from Bellos for partnering up with us and helping us bring these workshops to you. Please be sure to fill out the survey and evaluate our speaker, our workshop, and this helps us be able to bring additional workshops to you. We're going to be uploading this workshop onto our Google, our YouTube website. We learned that from your series of workshops, and our YouTube page. You will also find a variety of workshops that have been offered by Google and all presented by our very valuable presenter, Roberto Martinez. We love you. We know how valuable you are to our community. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next round, right? If there aren't any questions, you know, we say bye to everybody and we'll send this link to, oh, I need to pull out a name for the raffle, and I'm pulling out names old school style out of my bolsita. Brenda, yay. So you are welcome to come. Yay, felicidades, Brenda. Come within the next 2 weeks to our boutique and you can pick from any merchandise. We have $25 credit for you so that you can come and learn and see how we found the problem in our community and we figured out how to solve it, bring all these women together and offer you some great resources and great products. Now be sure to follow Robert from Raven, Digital Coaches. We're gonna add those links on our YouTube website when we email it to you. And Bella Entrepreneurs with Rocio, the Goddess Mercado, the Queer Mercado. And we'll see you soon. Bye, Roberto. Have fun at your conference. Bye, everyone.